Unworthy Podcast, episode 206. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of the Unworthy Podcast. If you're brand new here, my name is Tess. I am your host, your biggest cheerleader, and your business coach. If, of course, you happen to be a coach who deals with money and helps their clients with money, then you are in the right place, and this is your home. Welcome home, my friend. Today, I am going to be stepping you through mindset blocks around pricing. And I thought I would open up the doors and just share my own experience of how I dealt with pricing mindset blocks, because this issue is something that runs rampant in all of the coaching industry, but especially when you are a money coach or a money mindset coach or any coach who deals with money and helping their clients specifically with and around the topic of money. Because let's be real, it's kind of a weird thing to be like, you need to pay me so that we can work on this relationship that you have with the dollars you just paid me or the euro or whatever you're working with. So I've been there, and my hope from this episode is for you to feel seen, heard, and understood that you're not the only one with these thoughts, and unfortunately, they're quite normal. A lot of the thoughts that I'm going to be sharing with you are what I like to call the thought gremlins. We've talked about these before, and I'm going to be sharing the thought gremlins that I had and I had to work through and overcome in my years of building my own money coaching business. Now, I have a unique kind of perspective because if you are new here, I think this will be especially helpful for you. I am not just a business coach. I am also a financial coach. I also am in the field. Now, I work less with money coaching clients because I am more focused on bringing more money coaches to the world. But over the last 4 to 5 years, I have been working on building my money coaching business. And after 2 to 3 years of really struggling, I finally got to the point where I had a booked out full-time financial coaching business. And I felt like, oh my gosh, finally, I've kind of figured it out. Now, I'm still working on figuring it out. I'll be honest, we're all a work in progress. And that's another little mindset lesson for you to understand and know is that you're never going to reach that pinnacle no matter how much you think reaching those 10K months for whatever reason are going to cure all and be the end all be all. They're not, spoiler alert. But my point is that I had years of experience of working to overcome my own blocks. I had undercharged for a long time, learned my lesson, and then moved on. And then I found I reached this pivotal point because I made all the mistakes in the book. So lucky you get to learn from me. But I reached this pivotal point where I actually had to pivot my business. And I started working with other business owners and entrepreneurs, helping them with their finances and their business. So I was a money coach for the traditionally employed. And then I started being a money coach for self-employed. And in that experience, I actually got to see someone else's blocks around pricing. And I actually got to help them do the work to figure out a better price point. And that's when I started to realize that, okay, there's more to pricing than just feeling personally worthy of it or not. And so we're going to dig into this because, this lesson lies in the lessons I'm going to be sharing in this episode. But I think it's important for you to understand, or at least get the full picture of where I am coming from in sharing my own story and how I was almost forced to overcome my own pricing blocks because I got the opportunity to start helping others with theirs. And it's so funny, I find that when you start to teach, when you start to coach your clients, your knowledge around money or whatever it is, whatever the specific topic it is that you help your clients with, it becomes way, way, way deeper and greater because naturally, you learn so much more effectively when you actually are forced to teach something to someone else. So that's a little secondary tip for you. If you feel like you don't know enough, you know enough to be able to start coaching, and you're going to welcome to the jungle. You're going to learn a whole lot more when you start. But what I'm going to do in this episode is I'm going to walk you through the blocks. I'm going to share them, and then I'm going to go through each one step by step and share the rationale kind of like logistical reasoning behind why those blocks hold no bearings, and really what I had to see as I zoomed out and kind of looked at my hindsight, and through the process of also coaching others through very similar blocks, now how I can kind of lay that groundwork and help you see, okay, first of all, I'm not alone. And second of all, there's actually a reason why I need to charge top dollar for my work, why I deserve to build this business, and so on and so forth. At the end of this episode, I'm going to walk you through a very like quick and dirty way to break up and overcome any mindset block, but especially as it relates to pricing. Now, this typically takes a full mindset session that I work with my clients through. So I'm going to give you kind of the milestones, the stepping stones, and it's your responsibility to take it and work on it. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time, but hopefully with these key steps, you're really going to know what it's going to take, because a lot of times we think we can just like journal it out and it's going to be gone. And manifestation, mindset work, it just doesn't work that way, even though that's what a lot of people sell you. So stay tuned till the end where I walk you through that. Now, before we dive into the meat and potatoes, I do have to mention one little kind of just like warning. I'm in a big state of transition right now. And so I have moved my office from this little tiny room where my background was literally 2 single beds stacked on top of each other. Now I'm out in the living room, but actually I'm in transition. My husband and I are finally moving into a permanent apartment. We are so excited because we've been temporary without any of our own furniture for the last over a year now. It's been strange, but we're ready and we're so excited for the new place. It's just not happening yet. So I'm in a big, super open room. There's probably an echo on the audio. They're also doing construction above me, and luckily I'm able to like squeeze this episode recording in during the lunch hour, which in Switzerland, it's illegal to like do construction work or any type of loud work during lunch, which is really interesting. So we're going to try to squeeze it in, but if there are noises, just apologies in advance. But at the same time, let this be another learning lesson. The situation, the circumstances, they're never going to be perfect for you to get started. But that's okay, because the value that I provide through this podcast isn't just like the best audio quality or the fact that there's no echo. I do things to the point where it's good enough. And for me, what is good enough is that I'm providing you with the content, the lessons that you're learning. And this is something that I tell my clients too. When they're creating their content that is going to go on their social media, if they have to do video, or if they're creating their actual learning content for their clients, their core curriculum, I always remind them that yes, of course, our thought gremlins want to tell us that we have to be perfect. We have to have the best background and the best recording equipment and the top tier microphone, and we have to have our podcast professionally edited. But that's not actually what is important about the business that you're building. The business that you're building, what is important about it is the fact that you are offering the education and the support and the inspiration for your clients who are going to pay you, and that's what they're paying you for. So anyway, that is a little huge side note, but I think it's also an important lesson, so I wanted to mention it here. Otherwise, I wouldn't have mentioned it. I would have been like, you know what, it's fine. Listen to my echoey voice and we'll move on. Okay. So let me go through my own personal pricing mindset blocks that I experienced over the 3 to 4 years, especially the 2 to 3 that I really struggled to build my business. But like I said, your journey of growth and development, and especially working on your mindset, never ends. They don't say new level, new devil for nothing. So yes, I still experience some of my own pricing mindset blocks, and I still have to work through them. But let me share the big ones for me, especially when I was just getting started in my money coaching journey. So number 1 was feeling unworthy of building a successful business and charging high ticket for my coaching. Okay, just keep that in your pocket. We're going to come back to that. Number 2, feeling guilty about making money from people who are struggling with money. And a little sub-limitation to that was feeling out of integrity. And at the time, I didn't know it was out of integrity. I didn't know that was the issue, but feeling a little bit of guilt and a little bit of imposter syndrome. That's what I, thought it was, since I didn't invest in a money coach myself. And at the same time, feel like, some of the things that I was coaching my clients on were things I had a personal experience and understanding of, right? There were certain things that I was helping my clients deal with, certain struggles that I didn't have any experience with. And that at the time felt like, oh my gosh, this is totally, I'm an imposter. I'm a fraud. I'm a fake. I'm a phony. I don't deserve to get paid for this. The next one, not feeling like I had enough experience to be able to charge more for my coaching, like more than free or more than like $100 per session. Feeling guilty about having a set, less than flexible calendar when people were paying me the top dollar that eventually I wanted to charge. Okay, so these are the top blocks that I was personally experiencing when I was building my money coaching, and especially when I was going through those growing pains of wanting to charge more but not feeling like I could. So let me start from the beginning. And by the way, if you have more blocks that you just can't quite seem to work through, or you're listening to this and you're like, these are good. Yes. Okay. I get it. But what about this one? And I haven't touched on it. Please send it to me. And I would love to help you work through it. Maybe I'll do a second, part 2 episode if I get enough of you to send me your pricing mindset blocks, which I know is a weird thing to ask because I'm like, send me all the things that you think you can't do and I will help you figure out how to do them. But this is my job. I do this all the time. So I invite you, it's a safe space, to just send me a DM over on Instagram. I'm at Tess_Wicks. If you don't have Instagram, you can send me an email, tess@wonderwealthy.com. And I'd love you to just, don't filter it. Just give it to me straight. What is the thing that's keeping you from building the business you want to build and charging more for it? Charging something that you feel, you look at someone else and you go, I can't believe they could charge that. I could never. And I know you're catching yourself going, wait, is this because I think what they're doing is wrong, or because I just don't think I could personally do that? And maybe that's a block that I need to work through. So send it to me. Maybe that's one of them, but send me anything. I'd love to do kind of a secondary episode to this. Okay, let's dive in. First block was feeling unworthy of building a successful business and charging high ticket for coaching. And specifically, when I say high ticket, I'm talking about like $1,000 plus, and if we could get up to $2,000, $3,000, that'd be great. But I think $1,000 is also a threshold that a lot of money coaches face, thinking like that is way too much. No one's going to pay me for that. So I want to kind of break through that initial barrier. And I think it's probably because it's like a 4-figure number. And we think of things like a big investment when we pay pay over $1,000 for something. So that's where I wanted to start. Okay. So first of all, with this block, we really want to think about the words that we're using, because here I was feeling unworthy of building a successful business. And what I think is the most important for people to wrap their head around is that charging a high ticket dollar amount for your services, or even just building a business in general, has nothing to do about your worthiness as a human being. As difficult as this is for us to wrap our head around, because when you're an entrepreneur, especially, you're just like, I am my business. My business is me. We are one. People are paying for me. We have to remember that people are not paying for you. People are paying for the value that they're getting from the services that you provide. And if you could just remove yourself from the equation and put a new person in, and you trained that person to do everything that, you do, and you could even train people to kind of have a similar kind of essence and aura. And I know some of that stuff is unlearnable, but that's not what you're selling. What you're selling is the transformation that your clients are getting. And the transformation has nothing to do with you inherently as a person or your individual worthiness. Okay? We have to separate those two. And I know it can feel really hard, because even if you think about the traditional field of employment, especially I find in the United States, we have this thing where we attach like the amount of money we make or the type of job that we have to our worthiness. And we have to break that. It's so incredibly unhealthy to feel that what makes us worthy is the work that we do, the job title that we have, the amount of money that we make. I mean, that is just not the case. So we have to do some work on that. Okay. So when you think about charging for your services, though, let's get back to the pricing part. I want you to think about how you would price for someone who is working for you in your business, okay? So now you're going to replace yourself with someone else, and they're going to go out and they're going to do this work. They're going to show up. They're going to coach. They're going to hold the space. They're going to create the curriculum and take the client through a transformation. But you are the business owner, so you're still responsible for making sure that they get paid, that the business makes enough money to cover the expenses, and that, you're able to pay your taxes and profit and all of that good stuff. So then how much would you charge? You have to do the math. You have to figure it out because businesses cost money. And the person doing the coaching deserves to make a paycheck, right? They need to get paid for their work. They don't just do it for free because the people who they're helping need it for free, right? If that's the case, then we're doing nonprofit work. We need to go down a whole nother business route. But this isn't the case. There's no reason for you to turn your business into a charitable donation just because you feel guilty, right? We're doing business. So again, detach from the worthiness and remember, at the end of the day, this is a business. It needs to make money. Otherwise, you don't have a business and you can't show up anymore. Okay, so the second piece to this is something that you'll realize if you sit down and do the numbers, which is exactly why I developed the pricing formula. So quick little interjection. The pricing formula is a step-by-step formula that is also a full-on mini course that I have developed. It's only $27. It's the best investment that you can make right now in your business if you're just starting out, or even if you have been doing it for a while, but you're feeling a little sweaty about your pricing, you're not really sure if it's hitting the spot. Then get inside of the pricing formula. Let me tell you what it is. It's a mini course and it comes with the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook that you can download that gives you all the background behind why we price in this way and what each of the components of the actual formula, what they are, what their purpose is, and so that you can really wrap your head around the math of it and feel super confident when it comes to the price that pops out when you do the formula. But you're also going to get a completely done for you plug and play calculator. So when I just said math, if you went, ooh, math, no thanks. I've done the math for you. Don't you worry. I've created a really beautiful calculator. All you have to do is plug in your numbers so you can get the actual price point. You're going to learn all about what goes into that price point, and there's additional mindset trainings and other awesome templates and trainings to really help you step in to the coach's identity of the type of coach that prices and charges that amount. Okay. So back to this, when we talk about the math, then charging $1,000 for your services is actually not that much when it comes to running a business. Okay. When it comes to charging for the first time and thinking about it from your client's perspective, sure, it might seem like a lot of money. But when it comes to the business's perspective and you do the math and you see what your business needs to generate in order for you to show up and run this business and pay the bills and do it all, then you're going to realize, okay, $1,000, that's a great starting point. I'm ready to notch it up because we got to get somewhere with this. Okay, because a big portion of that $1,000 that's coming in is going to go to taxes and business expenses. And this is why business owners have to charge high ticket for their coaching. Because what you end up getting as the employee of your business, because that's what you are at the end of the day, if someone else isn't doing the coaching for you and you're doing the coaching, then you are also the employee of this business. And you're going to end up taking home maybe half of that. And you got to figure out, how is that going to pay my bills? How is that going to be a contribution to my family? And this is your business. And you deserve that. You deserve to get paid. You deserve a fair wage. Okay? Of course, you can and you should charge more for your coaching. And a lot of your pricing will ultimately depend on the cost of doing business, the cost of taking a paycheck, adding tax. But there's also opportunities to fill up your program and thus your pricing with the value that your ideal client needs so that you can ultimately charge more. And you do this by, in a lot of ways, niching down and becoming a specialist in your space. So this is something else that we discuss inside of the pricing formula because it is so important. When you look around and you say, how can she charge 3 times what I'm charging? Well, think about how she's become a specialist in her space. How has she shown up? How is she doing the thing? And you know what? Honestly, maybe she's not, but she just has that big confidence energy, right? So we either got to meet it there or we got to figure out how to specialize so that we can become even more valuable to our ideal clients. And that's where we get to the law of compensation. Okay, this is one of the 12 universal laws. If you've heard of the law of attraction, which I don't know who hasn't at this point, but the law of attraction is one of the 12. So is the law of compensation. One of the 12 laws of the universe. And what it states is that you will always be paid in direct proportion for the need for what you do, your ability to do it, and the difficulty there will be in replacing you. Okay, so if you want to charge more than whatever the pricing formula pumps out as a baseline price, if you want to charge more than that, we call that filling up the value gap. And you do that by becoming irreplaceable. To reiterate, your pricing has nothing to do with your inherent worthiness as a human. And we really have to work on detaching that. Okay, we have a huge problem of attaching our worthiness to the work that we do. The work of, what do we do for money and how much money that is and what our education is and, all of that stuff. And we have to remember that as human beings, we are inherently worthy. The likelihood of us being able to be reborn again is less than the likelihood of us getting struck by lightning 100 times in a row and then having 3 shark attacks back to back and then ultimately dying in a plane crash. Not to be morbid, but we know those odds are low. You are inherently worthy. I am inherently worthy. It is a miracle that we were born and we entered this world and we've become who we are. So don't discount that from what you're doing in your business right now or what you could do in your business right now or what, type of value the service that you provide holds. Okay, these are 2 separate things and we need to treat them as such. All right, let's move on to the second mindset block that I personally experienced. And that was feeling guilty about making money from people who are struggling with money. Dun, dun, dun. I think this is the crux of everyone in the money coaching space, okay? And this is a block that you will definitely overcome over time because over time you will learn this, but maybe I can deliver a little example to you now. But over time you will learn that those who pay attention, even if they're paying a little bit, right? We cannot give it away for free. But those who pay more often pay more attention too. And the investment that your clients are making in your coaching is actually a part of the transformation that they need to go through, right? This is a lesson for them to see that they can invest in someone like a coach, and likely what you provide as a coach is the education, but also the accountability and the growth and supporting them. And they can invest that and they can prove to themselves that with that investment, their future improves, right? That their future is worth investing in, that they as a human are worth investing in to prove to themselves that they invested and then they saw the return. And that's one of the first lessons that you might want to be teaching them so that they can see the value of investing in the future. The other piece to this is a lot of times I see coaches assuming what their clients can and cannot afford, or what their potential clients, right? Before they can see their finances, they will just make assumptions around what their ideal clients are quote unquote able to afford. And this is one of the biggest detriments to our success, is we automatically assume that charging, as an example, $1,000 for coaching is just too expensive. And whether that's because we think about our past self and what we would have been willing to pay or not, or we might think of just, no one's willing to pay this, or maybe we'll talk to someone who isn't in our ideal client profile and they will voice their concerns about charging or paying for money coaching. Whatever it is, these develop assumptions for us, and that leads us to ultimately sabotage our success before we even get started, right? Undercut our price point before we even say the price point. Or we say the price point and then we immediately undercut it because we're too scared of the reaction, because we're fearing that's going to lead to rejection. Never assume what someone can or can't afford until you say the price point and you let them respond. And even that first initial response may not be telling the whole story. So be willing to go deeper in that conversation. This is part of a sales masterclass that I've created. If you get inside of the pricing formula, you'll learn about an opportunity to join us for a sales masterclass, but we talk about dealing with pricing objections specifically, and it's going to help you so much if you get into it. But first and foremost, you can't assume there's going to be pricing objections before you even say the price by just assuming that no one's going to be able to afford it. Okay. And the other piece to this is that when you're paid fairly for the work you do as a coach, you're a better coach. I mean, that's just the proof, right? When we give people more money, they're willing to show up and do the work even more so. And finally, the cost of your coaching isn't an expense. It's an investment for your clients. And this is one where once you kind of come to grasps with it, which I think first and foremost, us as coaches, we need to come to grasps with this ourselves, is seeing this work as an investment and not just an expense, right? Once we can wrap our minds around it, then we need to help our clients or our potential clients really see this themselves. But you got to work on it yourself first. And I think that's where I get into this sub-limitation of feeling out of integrity or feeling like an imposter, since you may not have invested in a money coach yourself. You will naturally have these ideas that money coaching is an expense, and you'll naturally feel like, oh, well, is anyone really willing to pay for this? Because I certainly am not, or I certainly wasn't. And I think there are two huge things at play here where, first and foremost, did you even know that there were money coaches available to you, right? Most of us have never even heard of money coaching before we ultimately started thinking about like, hey, it'd be really cool if someone could help people with their personal finance, because we certainly didn't learn about this in school, right? So as much as you think now, you look around and there's money coaches everywhere, that's just your subconscious mind bringing you proof that what you want to do is real, and there are things to validate and verify that identity that you're stepping into. But also, when you think about yourself, you might think, well, I would have never invested in a money coach. How do you know, right? Was a money coach ever presented to you? And then second of all, even if a money coach was presented to you, that there was an opportunity, on one hand, they may not have just been a good fit, right? Maybe they didn't go through the Wealthy Coach Blueprint and understand the importance of having an ideal client and having a specific niche so they can specialize. But on the other hand, you also want to consider your own personality and your own way of going about things and doing things, and maybe what you currently take for granted and what others just don't have access to. So maybe you were able to spend the time really learning and developing because there wasn't a pressing need to resolve this situation for yourself, right? Maybe you think about your own experience of getting better with your money and organizing everything and really feeling like you finally grasp money and have a good system and solution. But maybe that's part of your personality too. Maybe you wanted to go through that process and do it on your own, whereas there's other people who certainly do not, who are willing to invest the money so that they can save time and see the value of that. And also maybe you can think back and realize that like, okay, yeah, I didn't invest in a coach, but had I would have been way further along now than I really am. Now, we don't have to regret that, but it's important to have that perspective and recognize that, we all take our own path, but there's still value in what it is you provide. And the other piece of this sublimitation was maybe that you actually just didn't experience the same struggles that your ideal client does experience. So this all kind of comes back to what I say and call, but it is what it is, feeling out of integrity, right? You're not necessarily walking the talk only because your lived experience is different from your ideal clients. And I think that is an important thing to address, right? If this is a mindset block for you, it's important to bring it to the surface and address it and recognize, okay, I had it easier than my clients do. But is it wrong to want to help your clients now with that problem, knowing that, maybe you don't have the experience of overcoming that problem, but you can certainly get resourceful to identify how to help them. And sometimes it doesn't mean that you have to have the answers, but you just have to be willing to hold them accountable and hold the space for them to explore that with you. And another piece to this is seeing if there are opportunities for you to walk your talk now, right? Are you preaching money management, but not managing your own money well? Are you preaching money mindset, but not working on your own mindset? Are you preaching investing in help, but not making your own investments? And if that's the case, that doesn't mean that you're a bad person or that you should just stop doing what you're doing, but it does mean that, okay, maybe we need to get back in line, in alignment, in integrity. We need to start walking our talk. So whatever it is in terms of a solution that you're providing to your clients, how can you adopt that? Even if it's not that you need specifically what you offer to your clients, because maybe your situation is entirely different, but how can you adopt even the approach to working on your own finances? Or heck, hey, here's an opportunity investing in your business in a similar way. Investing in growth, investing in a coach. Maybe it's not a money coach, but maybe it's a mindset coach. Maybe it's a business coach. Maybe it's a life coach. Maybe it's a relationship coach. How can you see the value investing in your own way and know, okay, when you start to do things like that, you are in integrity with seeing the value in investing in having your clients invest in their own growth and development. All right. Let's move on to the next limiting belief. And this is not feeling, for me, it was not feeling like I had enough experience to be able to charge more for my coaching. And I see this with my money coaches as well, all the time. And what I have to share with them is like tenfold, but we'll get into a couple. First of all, do not discount your knowledge. I think that might be, like I had mentioned, one of the reasons why we may not see the value in investing in a money coach per se, because we already have a baseline of knowledge that we feel like is a good jumping off point. And maybe we're a little bit better at holding ourselves accountable in this area of life. Okay, that's okay. And if that's the case, you got here for a very specific reason. So you probably have what it takes to help others. So don't discount that. The other piece is the words ready or enough. Those two words are really fascinating to me. Okay, remember the wording is always really important. And with this language of the limiting belief being not feeling like I had enough experience, what is enough, right? There is no solid definition of when someone is ready or when someone knows, has, or is enough. I mean, what does that even mean? What does it mean to know enough or to have enough or to be enough or to be ready? There's nothing that, especially in the coaching industry, there are no set standards, right? Okay, yeah, maybe you go to school for a bajillion years to become a doctor or get your doctorate, right? And we've put in these stepping stones, which is ultimately just a piece of paper saying, okay, now you're ready to do this. But there's nothing like that in the coaching industry. And honestly, there's not a lot like that in any other industry, especially for entrepreneurs. There's no degree to get for entrepreneurship. Of course, I think there was at my school, but like, how do you even do that? That's my question. So ready and enough are two terms that we believe represent states of being, right? And we think that they are on a binary plane. Like you are ready or you aren't. You are enough or you aren't. And if you aren't, then you cannot do the thing that you need to do. When in reality, what most people do, if you look at the most successful people, specifically like in business, think about your mentors or the people that you really look up to. Likely what they did was they didn't necessarily quote unquote feel ready, but they just did it anyway. And then they got ready, right? You got to get ready to get ready. Or you just got to do, and then you will become ready. But so many of us wait and wait and wait until we feel ready, but ready isn't a feeling. It's a choice. So is the enoughness whole situation. Okay. Another piece of the puzzle is to realize that you as a coach surely know enough to get started and to be charging for it. You don't have to claim to be an expert in topics you're certainly not an expert in, but that's not what coaching is anyway. I always like to think about it in terms of coaching for like athletic coaches, right? Athletic coaches aren't the best athletes, yet they coach the athletes. They don't have to have mastery over their own bodies. They have to hold the space for their athletes to allow them to practice and gain mastery over theirs. At the end of the day, your job as the coach isn't to know all the answers. It's to help your clients find the answers themselves, or maybe you do it together. Your job isn't to tell your clients what to do. It's to display the options and encourage them to decide and then to act. And then to ensure that they do act the next time they come on a coaching call and you ask them, so, did you do your work? Why not? What got in the way? And work them through that. Okay? Having experience will make you feel more confident. But before you can get that experience, you have to have the confidence of saying, you know what? I don't feel ready. I don't know if I know enough. But I'm going to decide that I am ready, and I'm going to decide to feel confident in being able to say to my clients, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm going to go find it for you. Or let me get back to you on that. And then do that. And I know for sure, if you've been able to make your own financial transformation to where you're at today, doesn't matter if it's the same as where your clients have gone through or what they've gone through, but if you've been able to do that, I know you can get resourceful to help and support your clients to do that as well. All right. The last one, the last limiting belief. This isn't obviously finite, but for me, and this is maybe specific to me, but I could see it playing a role for some of you as well, was feeling guilty about having a set, less than flexible calendar when people were paying me top dollar or wanting people to pay me top dollar. And for me, this came into play when I was thinking about moving to Europe and thinking, no one's going to pay me to coach them in European time zone, because I knew that I wasn't going to coach Europeans necessarily. I do have a few clients in the UK, but in terms of like time zone, I knew my clients were going to be based in the US or Canada for the majority of them. And this was going to potentially cause a problem for me. So I needed to see how I could get flexible with my calendar, but also I didn't want to be coaching in the middle of the night. So I had limited times available. And therefore, I needed to charge more and provide a better experience. But also, like, I was going to be charging more and that my times were going to be less flexible. How was I going to be able to do this? On one hand, it really does come, from experience and gaining that confidence and feeling good about how you work with your clients. But on the other, what was really important for me to learn is that we get so wrapped up in how we come across as coaches that we forget that even just charging for something makes people take you more seriously and treat you with more respect. Now, I don't want that to be taken the wrong way, but I want you to think about how you act and how you think, even like just in your mind, how you hold the regard of someone like a doctor, right? Doctors cost money, or dentists, right? Dentists cost money. And when you call up the doctor's office and you say, hey, I need an appointment, I got to get this thing checked out. And they're like, okay, come 2 months from now on a Tuesday at 11 a.m. And you're like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to take some hours off of work so I can show up at the doctor's office on a random Tuesday 2 months from now at 11 a.m. And you do it. And this is because, there's a lot of reasons why, but also these people are busy. They have a certain capacity. They don't necessarily work overtime. Some do, but not all of them. Most of them don't. And they, charge top dollar because you have a need and you need to get it fixed. And financial health is similar. Now, that's not to say that you should take your service and completely just manipulate your clients. That's definitely not the route we want to go. But sometimes we don't realize that when we charge for our services and our clients choose to work with us, they're not going to change just because you're not available in the times that are most available for them. They're going to find a way to make it work, as are you, and you can find that happy medium, but also you can stay firm with your boundaries and know that at the end of the day, this is your business. So you want to make sure that you run it as such because you are a whole human being. Your worthiness is far and above and beyond your business. You don't have to take it personally if they request something other than that, but you also don't have to bend over backwards for the business because you are allowed to have a life outside of your business too. And that's your permission that I just gave you, even though you didn't need it. All right. So how did it go for me? How did my pricing mindset blocks completely deflate and flutter away? Well, on one hand, they didn't because I still face them. It's just as my price increases, I still have to work through my own blocks. And that's just a never-ending thing. It's just I've now reconciled with the fact that that's always going to be there. And it's okay because it's natural. But they do get easier to overcome. And it gets easier to feel that confidence. And of course, again, experience is going to breed more confidence. And you'll be able to much more easily step into it over time. And to be honest, when I started out, I didn't have that level of coaching to help me see that. And so I started by just throwing a price out to see what stuck. Based it off of my competition and undercut it, which is the worst thing to do. But hey, like I said, I made every mistake in the book. And then with each client, I slowly increased my price by like $25 a month until I found my stopping point, so to speak, and started to hear a bit more no's than yeses. And then I kind of settled on a price until finally I created the pricing formula and realized, okay, I did it all entirely wrong. So, I did it wrong, but I'm so glad that I had that lesson that now I can share and teach you. And, sometimes you'll find your baseline price and you'll want to charge higher, but you'll have to get comfortable with that. And sometimes you don't have the support to work through all those mindset blocks to increase it right away. But that's okay. Start at your baseline, go through the pricing formula, start at your baseline, and then work your way up. I don't think I mentioned, by the way, the link for the pricing formula. If you want to get at it, just go to wanderwealthy.com/pricing and you will check it out. You can get it for free. And by the way, if you've been listening to this podcast for more than a minute, then you probably know that I do give away the Online Coaches Pricing Workbook for free to anyone who leaves a rating and a review in the Apple Podcasts player for the Wander Wealthy podcast. All you have to do is leave your rating and review, take a screenshot of it, and send it to me. At my email address, tess@wanderwealthy.com. And once I can verify that it has been posted, which it can take a couple days on iTunes, but once I verify, then I will send you the pricing workbook. Now, this is only one component of the overall formula, just so you know, but you will get the workbook for free and you can take it and run with it as much as you want. But if you want to get at the additional trainings and the full calculator that's entirely done for you, then you do have to sign up and pay the mere $27. But I promise you, it's going to be worth it and you'll have the whole thing. Plus a couple of very special offers along the way. So wanderwealthy.com/pricing. Now, I want to round out this episode. The construction's starting back up, so apologies if you're going to start hearing that. But I want to round out this episode with how to overcome any block. Okay, these are just a couple of quick steps. There are 4 steps. Yes, 4 steps to go through to overcome any block. And of course, it takes a little bit more than this typically, especially when you're working with a coach, and you're able to do it a little bit faster when you're working with a coach because we can work with your subconscious mind on it. But if you want to work on it yourself and you're willing to do the work slowly but surely, it will happen for you. So the first step is to bring awareness to it in order to determine the block. So a lot of times that has to do with just like really sitting with yourself and asking yourself questions. Where is this coming from? What is it really? What am I really afraid of? What's going on? What's deeper? What else? Just like keep digging. If you have to journal it out, you can do that. Then the second step is to question it, okay? I want you to question this block, whatever it is. If the block is, I can't charge more than $1,000 for money coaching, and that's your block, then we're going to start to question it. Is that true? And maybe you're like, yeah, I can't see it happening. Okay, is it really true? Well, I don't know. Well, if you did know, is it really true? What are you assuming here? How might you be jumping to conclusions? Who is it not true for? Are there some examples? Is there proof? Can you find evidence of situations where someone else or something else is experiencing the opposite? Okay? So all of those questions, I want you to write it down. Is it true? What am I assuming here? How might I be jumping to conclusions? Who is it not true for? How can I find evidence of situations where someone else or something else is or has experienced the opposite? Okay, I really want you to break down this thought to identify the opposite or proof and evidence of the opposite. Okay, the third step is to create safety and permission for yourself. On one hand, I want you to create this permission and safety for yourself to know that it's okay that you have this thought. That's okay. And it is now safe and you are allowed to think the opposite. And if you can't go the entire opposite, find a neutral ground, okay? So I cannot charge more than $1,000 for my coaching. Maybe the opposite would be I can charge more than $1,000, or maybe you want to charge $3,000. So I can charge $3,000 for my coaching. But if you consciously are just like, no way in hell, then I want you to go to a neutral place. It is safe for me to charge over $1,000 for my coaching. It is safe for me to charge $1,000 for my coaching. It is safe for me to charge $1,100. I just want you to start working your way through that, creating safety. In emotional freedom technique, EFT, tapping, we use a setup phrase, which I think is really powerful here. So even though I fill in the blank, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Okay, even though I have a block around my pricing where I don't feel I can charge more than $1,000 for my coaching, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. You can use that to really allow yourself to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel accepted. And then what you can follow it up with is, it is safe for me to, and again, fill in the blank. Maybe for you, it is safe for me to charge more than $1,000 for my coaching. It is safe for me to charge more than I see others charging for money coaching. It is safe for me to only work with a few clients who are willing to pay top dollar to have me help them with their money problems. It is safe for me to want more for myself, even when I feel like I should be grateful for what I currently have, or feel grateful for the fact that I'm not struggling with money right now. Okay, so create that safety and permission for yourself. And then the last step is to take action. This is potentially the hardest part, and I think it's the most resisted part because it's tough to actually do the thing, even when you know, well, I have a mindset block about it. But this is how you create movement. This is how you actually overcome your mindset blocks. You can't just wish them away. You have to create proof for yourself that they don't hold any bearings. I think this is the piece that a lot of, the law of attraction or manifestation coaches kind of leave out because it's the unsexy truth. It's the fact that you can do the visualization, you can do the meditation, you can do the journaling, you can do the hypnosis, you can do it all, but you still have to act. So what can you do? Well, thinking about your mindset blocks, you just have to start dipping your toe in the water, right? Whatever you created safety around, maybe it's not that it's safe for you to charge $3,000, but you do feel okay with going from $1,000 to $1,100 or $1,200. So dip your toe in that water and make it happen. Or you can invest in a coach, right? Take the step that you're asking your clients to do. And that way you can really feel and be in integrity with what you're presenting for your clients to make that investment in themselves. This allows you to understand where your clients are coming from and also set an example for what you want to be able to do for yourself. And then ultimately it comes down to just biting the bullet and doing the thing, right? Baby steps, but doing the thing. A lot of us want to avoid our blocks. We want to avoid the discomfort. And oftentimes, actually most of the time, you can't just go around the discomfort. In order to overcome it, you have to go through it. So the only way you'll be able to start the next level is to take that leap by going through the discomfort and making it happen. Manifesting and mindset work isn't just about thinking, journaling, talking through the issues. It's also about making a plan and doing it scared. When you set the wheels in motion, that's when the manifestations come to light. That's when the mindset blocks collapse. That's when the clients come, the impact happens, and you finally see the value that you've been creating this whole time. When I talk to my clients, and we're in the early days especially, I always tell them, you have to have faith in this process. Faith is believing when you cannot see. And it's so true when it comes to building a business. You have to have faith that your business is going to happen for you. Believe it before you can see it. And if you do that, you will see it. It will happen. So this was a long one, but I really think that mindset blocks, especially around pricing, they are so prevalent. So many of us struggle with them. And I don't want you to feel like there's something wrong with you. If you look around and see everyone else seemingly being fine and succeeding, and you're really questioning what you're doing, the value that you're providing. Instead, know that they're normal, unfortunately, but that there's also reason and rationale behind why you need to be busting those so you can show up and offer a life-changing experience for your clients. And if you want to work on it more, I definitely encourage you to check out the pricing formula. We have a whole mindset training in there, and you are absolutely going to get so much value out of it. And it's just $27. So do that investment for yourself because it will 100% pay off. head to wanderwealthy.com/pricing to get your hands on it. I have some really exclusive offers inside of there that you also might be interested in. You don't have to, but they're there for you if you want them. And if you want to check out the show notes of this week's episode, head to wanderwealthy.com/podcast/episode 206. Remember, if you want to send me any mindset blocks that you're dealing with that you want me to address, I will address them anonymously on the show, but super happy to do another episode where we dig into this even deeper. And you're not just hearing my mindset blocks, but you're hearing from each other. Let's make that happen. Send me an email, tess@wanderwealthy.com, or reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Tess_Wicks, and just say, hey, heard your episode on pricing mindset blocks. I'd love to talk about this one, and I will happily address it in another episode. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Go forth, price your services, make it happen, and until next week, I hope you wander wealthy.